Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, where we are bringing you the news unfiltered, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host of Unfiltered Vision News for today. And so today is Mighty Men Thursday. I'm really excited that Mark Carter is going to be joining me later on in the program at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. So, there's been a lot of news going on. Someone called me yesterday with, I guess, a little bit of an SOS regarding Job Corps. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but apparently they are getting ready to close down Job Corps nationwide. And Job Corps, I'm going to read a little bit of background, that I found on it for those who may not know about Job Corps. But basically, it was where um, individuals could go to learn a trade or a skill who didn't necessarily want the debt of college, right? Maybe they just couldn't afford college, but it was something put there to help individuals, young men and women under the age of, I think they raised it to 25. So 25 and 8, between like 18 and 25, maybe 16 uh, to 24. Actually, I'm looking at the website right now that I'll share with you guys. So that age range where certain children may have dropped out of school or, just different circumstances, and they want to get on their feet. And again, they don't want the debt of college, but they do need some technical trading and skills. So they were actually able to learn these skills with Job Corps. Now, in my opinion, it's very nefarious that we are where we are. We've got AI coming in, right? And people have been very concerned about AI taking over the job force, but AI can't labor, but humans can, right? A lot of our vehicles are actually like drivable computers, right? They kind of, some of the mechanics hook it up to a machine, but some aren't. Some are still gas driven that need to be, taken care of by a mechanic. There are just certain things that machines cannot do that humans need to be able to do. And like I said, Job Corps was one of those places where in my opinion, it is the middle class. It is that technical training that was taken out of the schools that still lived in a place where young people could get the education that they needed. So I definitely want to share my screen with you now, just to give you a little background on Job Corps. Let me increase the font for those that are watching with me online. So, the mission and purpose of Job Corps was to help young people ages 16 to 24 improve the quality of their lives through vocational and academic training aimed at gainful employment and career pathways. Now, a lot of the vocational training, as everyone knows, was taken out of high schools. I want to say maybe probably around the time I graduated in 89 is when I saw they stopped. Like they used to have like mechanic shop and wood shop when I was in middle school, but by the time I got to high school, a lot of those classes were taken out, and I lived in California and they called it ROP, but some people were able to take nursing classes, they were able to take mechanics and electrician classes, but they kind of did it in a way where they were getting credit for school as well. So by the time they graduated, they already, had their jobs set out because of the training that they were doing pretty much through their junior, maybe sophomore year, but definitely their junior and senior year. So by the time they graduated, they had a job. But again, it created a stable middle class because again, people were going right into the workforce or becoming entrepreneurs, and they weren't creating a lot of college debt, right? And so the Job Corps was originally designed by a task force established by Labor Secretary Willard Wirtz, yes, reporting to Manpower Administrator Sam Merrick. So in 1962, the youth unemployment rate was twice the non-youth unemployment rate, and the purpose of the initiative was to create a program whereby youth members of the program could spend half of their time improving national parks and forests and the other half of their time improving their basic educational skills, which were severely limiting their occupational accomplishments. The Job Corps Task Force initially recommended that Job Corps programs be limited to federal national parks, national forests, and federal lands. So basically, initially, they were just taking care of the greenery that we had, right? So obviously, it's excelled past then. So by the time of the Kennedy assassination in 1963, the Job Corps operational plans, costs, and budgets had been well developed, including coordination with the U.S. Forest Service and National Park Service, and memoranda of understanding (MOUs) executed among the agencies. So, initiating legislation and budgetary authorizations were drafted by the Kennedy administration and introduced in both sides of Congress. So in 1964, President Lyndon Johnson, facing military manpower shortages for the Vietnam War, suggested that the Job Corps could be useful in preparing young men to meet the mental and physical requirements for military enlistment. So we can see that there was an evolution in the program. Okay, let me check on my comments, make sure everything is good. Okay. All right, from South it says Job Corps helped many people get into the middle class. I totally agree, South. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then for, Miss Sassy Lady Forever, good morning to you too. Thanks for the good morning. Yes, so let's get back to it. So when President Johnson and his planning staff decided on the war on poverty, most of the proposed programs would take more than a year to even start. However, the Job Corps idea was well along in the planning stage and could be deployed rapidly. So the Labor Department Job Corps Task Force was appointed to the task force for the war on poverty, and the Job Corps was slated to be the initial operational program. So that's interesting. So this was incorporated into the war on poverty. It, you know, and here's the interesting part about the war on poverty. I really think that war is completely not just being lost, it's devastating. We have more homeless people now than we did back then. What happened? Obviously, we lost the war. I don't even know if we were in the fight to begin with, you know, but maybe for a short time, there was a brief moment where people were able to use Job Corps to get off of welfare, right? And get the job skills that they needed to actually progress and be a part of the middle class. So, Job Corps was therefore initiated as the central program of the Johnson administration's war on poverty, part of the domestic agenda known as the Great Society. Yeah, we know about that. Sergeant Shiver, the first director of the Office of Economic Opportunity, modeled the program on the Depression era Civil Conservation Corps, CCC. Established in the 1930s as an emergency relief program, the CCC provided room, board, and employment to thousands of unemployed young people. Through the CCC was though the CCC was discontinued after World War II, Job Corps built on many of its methods and strategies, right? And that was to house and train young people. You know, that was the initial thing. Okay, got another message from South. Yes, glad to see Mark Carter will be on the show today. He does great work in Chicago. He definitely does. I'm excited to have him on for Mighty Men Thursday. So the National Director of Job Corps of the Job Corps program was Stephen Olson, who was appointed by President Lyndon Johnson and reported directly to Sergeant Shiver. The current national director of the Office of Job Corps now, to this date, is Rachel Torres. The Job Corps program is currently authorized under Title I of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So there's an actual act for this program. And like I said when I started, what's happening now is the program is going to be shut down due to funding issues. They keep having shortfalls. And I had to look into it and wonder what was going on with all of these shortfalls. And I'm not going to read everything that I found on Wikipedia, but I wanted to give some context and background to what Job Corps is, because some people know about it, heard about it. I mean, I had a friend of mine, I want to say in the 90s, she went through the program. And at that time, computers weren't really, I want to say they were big, but they weren't big like they are now. And she went in and she was going to be a computer technician. So basically, her job would have been like either help desk or actually being able to build the computers, right? Understanding the microchips and different things like that. She was super smart. And so that's what she wanted to get into. And they were offering training like that. But a lot of these jobs that they were offering at that time, they were, paying people, 40, $50,000. And in the 90s, that was a lot of money, for a young person to have. But again, these jobs were focused on establishing a middle class where they could survive on their own without creating a lot of debt, right? It was those two things that I saw from the outside. And I was like, okay, why would this program be, dismantled? Like, what's going on? So what I'm scrolling through right now is I was just wanting to show you some of the career paths that they have. So career technical training programs, often called vocational programs, offered by Job Corps, vary by campus. So example careers include a mechanist, auto mechanic, electrician, 911 dispatcher, dental assistant, corrections officer, cook, computer technician, like I was saying, a friend of mine went into that one, landscaper, or truck driver. So people could get their CDLs even through Job Corps. Again, these are a lot of these jobs listed are middle class jobs where people were making, I would say 50, 60,000, or maybe into the six figures, depending on the level they were going to. And a landscaper, that's an entrepreneurial job, right? Where you can actually start your own business and have people under you if you so chose to do that, right? A truck driver, same thing. You could be an independent truck driver working with different companies to deliver goods. You could do that and not have the college debt. It was definitely a way for individuals that needed that extra assistance, like I said, without getting into debt, but they were able to get into these jobs because they were, in essence, apprentices in a lot of these situations, right? So let's say for the electrician, for example, they did learn out of the books, but then they were able to job shadow other electricians and get to, put those put that that on the job training into practice on work sites, right? So they actually got to be a part of, fixing damaged electrical wires in a building already built, or establishing new wires in, let's say, a brand new home. So these are things that helped people. So why now is it being, you know shut down? So I had to, go on some other, let's just say, sites to find out what is going on. So I went to the U.S. Department of Labor to kind of figure out like what's happening. So it says it pauses Job Corps Center operations. So I want to say I'm not sure. I wanted to find the release date for you guys so you could see. Okay, so this was released on May 29th, or at least this is when the letter was put into effect. So a week ago. Right. So it says the U.S. Department of Labor today announced it will begin a phased pause in operations at contractor operated Job Corps centers nationwide, initiating an orderly transition for students, staff, and local communities. The decision follows an internal review of the program's outcome and structure and will be carried out in accordance with available funding. The statutory framework established under the Workforce in Innovation and Opportunity Act and congressional notification requirements. The pause of operations at all contractor operated Job Corps centers will occur by June 30th. As the transition begins, the department is collaborating with state and local workforce partners to assist current students in advancing their training and connecting them with education and employment opportunities. So, from what I've just read so far, they are transitioning these individuals. They're not leaving them high and dry. They are trying to figure this out. So, the department's decision aligns with the president's fiscal year 2026 budget proposal and reflects the administration's commitment to ensure federal workforce investments deliver meaningful results for both students and taxpayers. Now, Job Corps was created to help young adults build a pathway to a better life through education, training, and community, said Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer. However, a startling number of serious incident reports and other in depth fiscal analysis reveal the program is no longer achieving the intended outcomes that students deserve. We remain committed to ensuring all participants are supported through this transition and connected with the resources they need to succeed as we evaluate the program's possibilities. The program has faced significant financial challenges under its current operating structure. In previous year, 2024, the program operated at a $150 million deficit. So they were actually functioning in the red by $150 million. My whole question is what happened to the money, right? Like, what's going on? Requiring the Biden administration to implement a pause in center operations to complete the program year. The deficit is projected to reach 213 million projected year 2025. So it's not getting any better, right? So it's one of those things. So what happened to the money, right? And why are these things occurring? So in April 2025, the department's Employment and Training Administration released the first ever Job Corps transparency report. Okay, so this was released by Job Corps. I just want everybody to know that this report, and I do have the report. I'm kind of a nerd, y'all. I pulled the Excel report because I was like, I want to see what this says. So, which analyzed the financial performance and operational cost of the most recently available metrics of program year 2023 and a summary of the overall findings. So, this is a summary of the overall findings. The average graduation rate, which is the WIOA definition, the workforce, I think I'd read it before. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but we'll get to that. So they had a graduation rate of 38.6%. So that's under 50%. So less than 50% of the individuals that come in are graduating. The average cost per year, and this is per student, is over $80,000, $80,284.65. Okay. So you've got an average, and that's the high to low, right? So at the most, it could be this, and at the least it could be this, and the average is 80,000. Okay. And this is across the country. So the average total cost per graduate is 155,000. Post separation participants earn $16,695 annually on average. These babies are earning less than 20,000 a year. How are you a mechanic? How are you a nurse? First of all, because they had nursing up there, making less than 20,000 a year. Like, none of that makes sense. Like, the lowest average should be 40,000 for these kids coming out of this, for the jobs that they had listed that I showed you guys, that I found on Wikipedia. Sorry, you know, went off of that screen because, bandwidth. But, so yeah. So again, that's the average salary. So maybe there are some people making closer to 50, 60, and maybe there are people making under 10, but that shouldn't be the goal of this program. Like, the goal should be, at baseline, people should be coming out of there making 50, 60, because I don't know who's living off of this. This is below the poverty line. So the total number of serious incident reports for program year 2023 was 14,913 infractions. So that could be anything from coming in the dorm room late, causing a disruption, whatever, but they broke them down. So inappropriate sexual behavior and assaults, there were 372 of those. Now this is around the country. So this is an average around the country. I just want people to understand that. And acts of violence reported were over 1,700, breaches of safety and security over 1,100, reported drug use over 2,700, and hospital visits over 1,800. Now, this, again, was the summary of the report given by Job Corps. And I know everybody's like, okay, Shaq, why, Dr. Nichols, why are you emphasizing it? Before I go to the actual spreadsheet that Job Corps gave to the Department of Labor, I want to show you what Job Corps has to say. Corrections to false statement about Job Corps in recent media articles. There are many false or misleading statements about Job Corps in recent media coverage regarding U.S. Department of Labor decision to shutter Job Corps campuses. Below are corrections and additional context. So the first thing it says, false statement, Job Corps graduation rate is just 38.6%. So for transparency, the transparency report examines data from 2023 till June 2024. Current graduation rate is higher. Like other schools and colleges, enrollment and graduates rates were depressed by COVID-19 policies. Historically, Job Corps graduation rates have been above 60%. Again, this is what you sent them. How is it false if this is the information you sent them? I'm going to keep reading on, you guys. Under previous administrations, the Department of Labor began requiring students with a high school diploma to participate in remedial academic classrooms until they are college ready, regardless of whether that aligns with their career goals. This leads students to leave out of frustration and has caused a decline in graduation rates. So, because they basically raised the standards for people with a high school diploma to participate in remedial academic classrooms until they are college ready, right? So this means they quit because they didn't want to do better. That, to me, that doesn't make sense. Because if they're getting frustrated and they're walking away, then that means the curriculum may have been too difficult. We've been hearing about teachers walking away from the classroom. Teachers are walking away because they know that these students aren't learning and they're being paid to teach students not to learn. I know that sounds very strange to a lot of people, but yes, there have been, on X especially, and even on YouTube, videos I've seen of teachers that are frustrated with the educational system that are walking away. And they're saying that a lot of these students are just being pushed through, even if they can't read and write. Now, for the past 20 years, children have not learned how to handwrite. Yeah, you heard me. 20 years, no one knows how to handwrite. These children can barely print their names or write legibly, okay? Legibly as adults. So if they cannot handwrite themselves, could they read the original Constitution? These are the questions that I have. Like, what's really going on? Oh, let's see. And South is saying Job Corps helped people in very difficult industries. Also, they did. And it's interesting, like I said, why they're pulling this right now. So another false statement that Job Corps is saying is that Job Corps costs as much as 155,600 per student. Job Corps costs less than 50,000 per enrollee, according to the Department of Labor's report. This is an increase from a report during the first Trump administration, which indicated the cost per enrollee was 34,301. The increase is due almost entirely to COVID restrictions on the number of students Job Corps is allowed to serve, some of which are still in place. Okay, so we're just gonna dump this at the feet of COVID. It's interesting. It's like, whenever there's something, it was COVID. Yep, yep, COVID did it. That bad year. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Another false statement. Job Corps cost um, per graduate is higher than four-year colleges. So 49% of a four-year college students graduate within 4 years at an average cost of 38 to 70. That amounts to a cost per graduate of 312 408. So 35% of community college students graduate within 3 years at an average cost of 11,000 per year, and that amounts to a cost grade of about 110,000. A report during the first Trump administration prior to COVID-19 policies reported Job Corps' average cost per graduate to be 57,312. I mean, that's not bad. But, again, this is your report, Job Corps. This is another false statement is Job Corps is no longer achieving its intended outcomes. Job Corps graduates exceeded the wage goals set by the Department of Labor in previous year 2023. So that's what they're saying. So I'm not going to get into everything, but what I wanted to show you is I wanted to actually show you the spreadsheet from Job Corps. This is their spreadsheet. And I went to the bottom because they were stating, some of this information sent by the Department of Labor was false. I'm like, okay, well, then why is it in your spreadsheet? I hope you guys can see this. I'm trying to keep it so you can see the whole thing in a little bit of context, a little bit. But I'll read it for you. So it does say the WIOA graduation rate is 39%. So the Department of Labor said that it was 38.6%. So that's tracking, right? That's tracking. Like this is your report, Job Corps. This is your report. This is not the Department of Labor's report. These are the numbers you sent them. And you're saying the numbers that you sent them are false? But this is your report. I'm sorry. Like you sent it to them. And now you're crying outrage. It's weird. It's weird. I'm gonna finish reading it. I don't want to belabor the point, but you guys know where I'm going. So I showed you the Department of Labor. I read through some of what Job Corps was saying was false. Media reports out there. This is their actual report. Now, the cost per graduate program wide traditional definition, right? It's 187,653. So that's their cost per graduate, right? Their cost per graduate program wide. This their first one was traditional, and the next one was WIOA. I think that has to do with like workforce or something. Is 155,600. You said this number was false, but this is the number that you gave the Department of Labor. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, I need somebody to explain this out to me because all they're doing is showing the numbers that you gave them. This is the report that you sent them. Seriously? It's maddening. Okay. Now it says average of top center cost per graduate calculates the average cost per graduate, excluding those who hold certificates but were expelled or separated for disciplinary reasons. Now, this is just an average. So the top average is 529,000, top 50, 329,000. And this is the cost per graduate. These are your numbers. Job Corps. These are your numbers. These are not from the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor didn't make it up and say, okay, this is what they're doing. You sent them this. They're just reporting what you sent them and you're upset about it. It's very strange. I just find it very odd because, see, it's not the children that have made the bad decision, it's the adults that have done this to the children. And it's horrible. Now, I had a question. So I, went to the internet. I said, what about Job Corps and LGBTQ? Like, because that is a thing. I was very curious. It says Job Corps, a program aimed at helping young adults gain education and training, has faced criticism regarding its treatment of LGBTQ individuals. Several posts on Reddit indicate that LGBTQ students often face bullying, misgendering, and lack of support, particularly in centers located in more conservative areas like North Carolina. However, some centers, such as the one in Albuquerque, which that would be New Mexico, have been described as more accepting. Now, here's where I have an issue. That shouldn't even be a thing at Job Corps. You're coming there to work to get a job. That should be the one place that's what you're doing. Everything else stays at home or don't go to Job Corps. This, how should I say, this indoctrination of privilege, because it is privilege. They aren't rights, they're privileges. Okay. Because if they were actually tried, and there's going to be a lot of Supreme Court rulings behind this that are going to have to change because these privileges that individuals have that they believe are rights are infringing upon the rights of other people because it's infringing upon their freedoms. And you can't put laws in place that do that. We have a 10th Amendment for a reason. So I just want to put that out there. But I wanted to see, I was like, okay, has there been any, I don't want to say favoritism, but has there been anything out there to be slightly disruptive? So I found this article by an individual who was at Job Corps. And it says, hello, everyone. It's been quite a while since I posted here, Reddit, but I feel like this needs to be said. A couple of weeks before coming to Job Corps, I researched all things on LGBTQ inclusion. And for the most part, what I read was good. But as soon as I got to Job Corps, it hit me quickly how bad the inclusion of the community really was. I am a pre-transition 23-year-old trans woman of color, and it's been rough trying to get them to to help me get to and from my appointments. Okay, first of all, let's start with the privilege. No one has to accommodate anything for you, ever. You're coming there to learn skills to get a job or to become an entrepreneur, to be independent and take care of yourself. This is not a place to go to be dependent upon other people. That's what Job Corps isn't. Okay. Definitely the wrong mindset. Like, what are we doing here? But this is why I looked that up, because I was like, why are they losing money? I mean, Job Corps just celebrated 60 years. They just celebrated 60 years. So how in that 60-year time period is it falling off now? It's because of stuff like this. That's why. Yep, I'm gonna place it right at the feet of this nonsense. And it is nonsense. It needs to stop. You, if you want to do this, it's your personal thing. It's not everybody else's responsibility. And I need that to be known, period. It says, I've been here for 2 months and I've never fought for something so hard in my life only to not get anywhere. Providing HRT is not the scope of basic health care. And I understand that, but I already have insurance and all I need is transportation, but they haven't even been trying to set up anything. And I honestly don't know if I can wait another 6 months to move and potentially have this same situation elsewhere, especially where I can start now. So I say this for those in the community. If you need something that can help you that's not in the scope of basic health, do it before coming to Job Corps, or just don't come because the program is bad and very judgmental to those in the community. Okay, so first of all, you're separating yourself as the community. I don't put that in big air quotes for everybody can see me, the community. Okay, your community is an ideology that is a religion. Okay. Bottom line, it is a whole religion. And I need people to understand that. And people out there may be saying, what are you talking about? It's a religion. It's a religion because it's trying to be impressed upon you to believe something. And even if you don't want to, they are forcing you to. So it's even worse than regular religions out there. Nobody's forcing me to be an atheist, but there are atheists out there. I'm a Christian. I don't want to force anybody to be a Christian. It is your choice, it is free will. But when it comes to this community, you want to force everybody to believe things that are not true. A man cannot become a woman. A woman cannot become a man, period. That's where we're at. The answer is no. If you haven't heard it lately, you're going to hear it from me today. The answer is no. Because, see, I love you too much to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to coddle you that way. This needs to stop. And I do believe that this is part of the reason why Job Corps is falling apart, because they are capitulating to things like this. And if you don't think so, let me read you something. This is an FAQ for ensuring equal opportunity for transgender applicants and students. So I don't know if this came about before or after this individual, but this was 6 years ago. This, okay, I didn't see I was trying to find the date that this was put into place. It does not have a date, but I did, like I said, I did look this up. And I was just like, okay, well, this was put in place maybe after this individual had gone through Job Corps. So let's just say this was put in place after the fact. It's there. It says, how should a transgender student who goes by a name other than his or her legal name? Again, we only have two genders. That's it. And you can't swap it out. You are not an automaton. Stop that. Legal name, sign the enrollment application. Should student use their legal name or preferred name? Well, first of all, they should use their legal name because that's probably on their birth certificate and their social security card. It's still a federally funded program. You have to use that information. So all students should sign official documents, including enrollment applications with the student's legal name. Staff should note the student's preferred name on the application and, with the permission of the student, their gender identity. You see this? This is why it's closing. This is why the doors are shutting down. Oh, yeah, I'm laying this at the feet of the community. Yeah, this is being destroyed because of you. Because it's been fine for over 50 years. But I'm pretty sure in the past 10 years it was failing. And it was because of this. Our schools are failing because of this. Our babies can't learn how to read and write, but they know their pronouns. They can't do basic math, but they can tell you about a whole bunch of other things from books that are in the school. What are we doing? All this needs to stop. If you are going to Job Corps, you are going there to get a job. What you do after you leave Job Corps is your business. But it is not their responsibility to capitulate to a community, period. This is about education so that you can move forward as an adult and take care of yourself and be a contributing member to society. That's what it's about. Period. You don't have to go to Job Corps. Job Corps is a blessing to individuals so that they can be a part of the middle class without the debt. Okay? It is a blessing. It is not a right. And all of these things that have taken over our country like a bad virus, it needs to stop. Nobody wants to play this game with you guys anymore. And for those adults who have all but destroyed, and I mean really destroyed Job Corps, shame on you. Shame on you for wasting the money, because it wasn't the babies that did this. You did this. And you better fix it. Do what you need to do. But lying and saying that the Department of Labor and all the media, all the things they're saying isn't true, it's true. I showed you their transparency report. It was from them. All the U.S. Department of Labor did was report the numbers that was given to them from Job Corps. Stop lying. Whatever you've done and whatever you're doing, you better fix it. You better fix it, because this falls at your feet. All of you. All of you at the top in Job Corps, you're responsible for this, and you better fix it for these babies. You better fight tooth and nail. I better see you on the streets having meetings with senators. You need to do everything that you can to make sure that this program stays afloat for those that don't want to go to college, like, again, because they don't want the debt. Because is there going to be something to replace this? I don't see that conversation coming. It's going to just let it fall apart. So we have more individuals just kind of falling by the wayside. Really? I don't think so. I really don't think that is the right thing to do here. Now, I do have a video. Let me find it really quick. Thanks for hanging in there with me, guys. Good morning. I know I went on my tirade, went on my rant. I had to, but I wanted to share this video with you.
Clearly you have your set, but I do think that this is something important to talk. You're not the first person to bring it up, and you won't be the last, but this is an important thing to talk about, even if I'm not talking. And I'm not talking to you because I know you don't care about Americans, I know you don't care about people, and I know that your moral compass doesn't exist. So this isn't about you. You can respond if you want. It helped me boost the algorithm. Actually, please do continue to comment, but still using this comment as a platform. First off, I'd like to point out that the metrics that are used to measure Job Corps are fundamentally flawed. It's not Job Corps that has failed, it's the statistics that they are using. You can't measure a program meant for disadvantaged people who never made it into the system in the first place and measure their success based off of the system that failed them. And if you fail to look at it correctly, you will see success as failure, just like you're doing now. The people coming into Job Corps are disadvantaged people. They are LGBTQ people, they're non-white people, they're poor white people, they are disabled people, and so many more. Immigrants as well, which I know we don't like, but I like immigrants. Get in here, I don't fucking care. Get in this country, this is where they belong. Also, that 2 billion you're talking about is actually 1.7 billion. And even if it was 2 billion, let's talk about how much that actually is. In the US federal budget, which is over $6 trillion, that is 0.02%. Not that you'd know that, because unlike me, you haven't read anything. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And it would be wonderful for the entire world if people like you would shut up, but they don't. So we're here talking. Feel free to scroll whenever you want. But let's talk about what success rate even means. So you have people who go into union trades and then they apply for the union and then or they apply for whatever place that they want to go, and then they realize that the time between they graduate Job Corps and the time between that they get to that job, that they would be on trade for what they're studying here, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to need a job on the in-between. If you get that in-between job, it is marked as a failure. Let's talk about how whenever you get here in the first few months, you are drug tested, and if you don't pass that drug test, you get kicked out. That goes into the failed graduate rate. Let's talk about people who may move to another center, or who may find something else going on. People who have to go home to take care of their parents. All of that goes into that failed graduation rate. If you apply for your basic trade and you complete your basic trade, or you get your high school diploma or whatever, and then you go into another trade but you don't finish that trade and you take with just the graduation certificate that you got beforehand, that's a failed graduation. With those tight metrics that obviously shouldn't be applied to the communities that Job Corps serve, of course the metrics are gonna look bad. But let's say that every single failure was truly an absolute failure and people just didn't put the ass work in. Who are you to say that the 3 million people that Job Corps has successfully served in its past 60 years are worth it? You never get to decide if somebody else's life or quality of life is worth it. That is never someone else's choice. That is always up to that person. And depriving an entire community, an entire country of its backbone, how dumb do you have to be? I hope you don't live in a house, because all the carpenters, where are they going to go? Once these guys are out, no one's replacing it. You got rid of the trade school. Same thing goes for if you live in an area that has trains. If you have food that's transported by trains, you have people who are truckers. You work in anything where it needs someone in an office running it, all your workers are dying. They're dying on the street. They're going to homeless shelters. They're not getting their education. And the people who support the closing of Job Corps are a part of the problem. You are a part of the problem if you are not actively supporting your American people.
Okay. So, some things I agree with, some things I didn't. I don't agree with highlighting people from the LGBTQ community, because I'm like, you're humans like everybody else, and you should not have you should not have preferential treatment. Period. You shouldn't. you just should not. But what I did agree with what he was saying is like, yeah, the closing, it's going to be horrible, because all of those filler spaces that people have taken for granted, people probably don't realize a lot of those individuals were from Job Corps. Yeah. And so those are the things that we really have to remember and look at. And I do apologize. I thought about this last night. I want to apologize for my Christian listeners out there. I know there's sometimes I play videos and people do say curse words, and I do apologize for this. Sorry. I got to figure out like the little censor beep thing for videos. If anybody knows of any good ones, send it to me. I don't want to just, disrupt your day, disrupt your ears. But, at the end of all of this, and the reason why I brought it up first is because we really need to focus on reaching out to our congressmen, our state and local reps about this. Definitely reach out to the Department of Labor. I'm going to put the information up. This is a media contact, right? And her name is Courtney Perella. But definitely call 202-693-3670. And, if they can direct you to petition to keep Job Corps open, then do that. Now, I'm not trying to keep it open so they can continue to mismanage money. Absolutely not. I definitely think there needs to be an overhaul, and that's something that they are looking at doing, as I read initially in here. But a lot of times when people see, well, certain programs might be taken away and certain people might be affected, they just kind of throw it all out and say, okay, the program's completely going away. And that's not what this letter said. For those of us maybe just joining us, it says the pause of operations at all contractor operated Job Corps centers will occur by June 30th. As the transition begins, the department is collaborating with state and local workforce partners to assist current students in advancing their training and connecting them with education and employment opportunities. So they're not leaving these people out in the cold. But here's the thing, we need to figure out if Job Corps itself is going to be able to survive. Like I said, we need it to survive. President Trump, if you're listening, President Trump's people, if you are listening, I plead with you, figure out what needs to be done. Put the right people in place if that is something that needs to happen. But please don't take away Job Corps, because you will devastate our country. I mean, you really will. This will be a devastating blow because we already have pulled trades out of the schools. We've already destroyed that lifeline of being able to work when you graduate from high school. Let's not continue to chip away at our middle class till there isn't one at all. So with that, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, hopefully somewhere between 8 and 8:30, we will have our special guest, Mark Carter, on. So thanks, everyone, joining me here this morning on Unfiltered Vision News. And I'll see you guys on the other side.
At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it?
Good morning, and we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered 7 to 9 a.m. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host for today. And this is Mighty Men Thursday, so I'm really looking forward to our special guest, Mark Carter, who will be joining us here in a little while between, I would say, about 8:30-ish. I usually try to give my guests enough time to come on the stage and definitely enough time to share with us what they're doing in the community and what they would like to see better for our country. So I did want to cover this news story. There's been a lot of talk, obviously, in I covered this a little bit yesterday on my show. I'm so glad that our congressmen and women are reading bills. Like, isn't that awesome, y'all? They're actually trying to work and do their jobs. And, missing things, right? I was really appreciative that Marjorie Taylor Greene was humble enough to say, I missed that part of the bill that discussed AI. And if it comes back, I'll definitely look into the changes. So, it is in the Senate. It's getting some looks. People are saying what they like, what they don't like. And I'm okay with that. I would rather them take their time to battle it out to give us a good bill, right? That's going to put in some legislation, then sign it and then find out what's in it, right? So part of this is media across spectrum raises concerns over Trump's reported Palantir partnership. Now, I read a little bit about this yesterday, but again, the story is back again. So, a recent report from the New York Times that leans left bias, that software company Palantir is deepening its working relationship with the federal government, has sparked concerns of increased domestic surveillance across the spectrum. Since President Trump took office, Palantir has received over $900 million in government spending and contracts and is in talks with several agencies according to anonymous sources. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be super anonymous. I think we can go to usspending.gov and put in Palantir, and it should pull up all of their information if they've had any contracts with the federal government. I'm like, if it's there, it's there. So, for reason for concern, an opinion from Elizabeth Noel Brown of Libertarian publication, which is called Reason, and it's in the center, warned that even though the Trump administration is reportedly using Palantir's tools to track immigrants, it would likely expand to tracking of everyday Americans. Nolan cited reporting from several other mainstream outlets and concluded it seems unlikely that any administration will say, no thanks, shut it down. We need total information on everyone. Well, newsflash. This is the reason why people were so upset about the Patriot Act. This has been, ma'am, they've been doing this for a minute. Look at the terms and conditions on your phone. It tells you in there that it will track your locations. Now, with some phones, you can turn it off. With certain ones, you can't. The devil's in the details. They've been doing this. This isn't just Palantir. Really? To me, this is like such faux outrage. It's like, really? I've been doing this for a minute. Your information is out there in quadruple it. Okay? It just didn't happen because of this. And to juxtapose it, if we're going to follow immigrants, you'll follow everyday Americans. They've been doing that, ma'am. Again, Patriot Act back in the 90s after 9/11. Stop that. Stop it with the faux outrage. Okay. So founders' backgrounds. Okay. The only outlet from the right, all sides found to cover the story was Zero Hedge and Aileen Wright, which described the advancements of artificial intelligence as creating a dystopian hellscape and said the deeper partnership with Palantir would give way to unparalleled surveillance powers over American citizens. Zero Hedge mentioned the long-standing relationship between co-founder Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and highlighted a CNBC which leans left interview in which co-founder and CEO Alex Karp touted Palantir for single-handedly stopping the rise of the far right in Europe. Again, this stuff is out there. It's been out there. They've been doing facial recognition for years. Anybody heard about those little Amazon stores where you can just use the palm of your hand to swipe biometrics? That all comes back to people having your information. And if you let them have your information, they're building a database of your information. They've been doing this for decades. I need the faux outrage to stop. Have y'all been asleep at the wheel? This is why there was so much outrage about the Patriot Act, because it completely violated the Fourth Amendment. And then they recently revised it to make it worse. I'm just saying, legislation has been here way before AI. And I'm not caping for AI at any means. I mean, I think there should be some good software used, okay, to allow systems to talk to one another. I'm okay with that. But do I want AI, I should say, infused in a way where it could go rogue? Because, AI is sentient. It's constantly learning, developing, and growing. There are certain AI models that have learned to replicate itself. It's also learned to have its own language that humans don't understand and cannot breach. So Yeah, there's a way to use AI as a tool, but it has to be governed properly. And that's what, our senators and our House representatives need to be focused on right now with this big, beautiful bill. In my opinion, that AI piece needs to be removed and it needs to be a separate piece of legislation that can be amended if and when necessary so it can be properly governed, because something as drastic as that will affect everybody's life, you know on or off any type of internet platforms. It should not be stuck inside of a larger bill dealing with financial matters, right? Because the big beautiful bill is dealing with increasing and decreasing funding for different, um, I should say, projects that we have and different agencies that we have, and you know, Medicare, Medicaid, let's see, cash aid assistance that people will receive, and how we need to help them get jobs so it's not a lifestyle, but it is a transitional hand up, right? So we have all of those things happening. But the AI piece, in my opinion, it should be completely removed and legislated separately and apart so that all involved can write proper legislation. I think for years people have been, asking for like a internet constitution that governs the internet. Because right now we are still in the wild, wild west when it comes to the internet, you know, and people on most social media platforms, they are governed under the jurisdiction that they're under. So if they're in Japan, or if they're in Honduras, or if they're in America, they are governed by three separate entities because it's the jurisdiction that they live under as a citizen of whatever country they're in. So if their country allows certain freedoms and restrictions, that's what they are under, period. They're under that law. Yeah. We do not have an internet corporate a constitutional governance. I just want to say that. And so, MAGA criticism. So, MSNBC, that leans left, highlighted a Newsweek Center report that highlighted far right Trump supporters like the Hodge twins and Nick Fuentes, who were alarmed by the Trump's report. Yeah. And I think everybody is alarmed, as they should be. But here's the deal. If you want to know about Palantir, just go to usspending.gov and see what contracts they have before the faux outrage. Sometimes I read these articles and it just boggles my mind that people are just so quick to get outraged about different things. I'm like, research something before you get so invested emotionally. I mean, seriously, calm down. Calm down, calm down. Oh, we are back on the travel ban, y'all. Trump bans travel from 12 countries. Now, I remember when he tried to do this before, and everybody like lost their lunch. They were just outraged. They were like, what? He can't ban these people and he can't do. Well, he can. Let's see what he's going to get done this time. So, President Trump signed a proclamation on Wednesday that bans travel from Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. I don't know, Somalia is sticking out to me because there's a couple of humans over here from there. Afghanistan is sticking out because we just had a situation with some, in Colorado that was horrible, you know. Okay, so this is where we're at. Since starting June 9, travel is also restricted from from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. Okay, so travel from those places. The ban makes exceptions for lawful permanent U.S. residents, existing visa holders, and individuals whose entry serves U.S. national interest. And those are usually translators. They will sometimes have people from different countries like this as translators to help them if they have anybody that's incarcerated or may need assistance in that way. There's also, what do I want to say? Embassy members of different embassies. So you have different people like that will be allowed, right, to travel back and forth with these countries, but those are typically the national interest. So Trump said the ban targets foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, and that's fair. In a video announcement, this ban expanded from Trump's Muslim ban in his first term. Remember, I said he did this in his first term. So will only further isolate us on the world stage, said Rep. Pramelia Jayapal, and she's a Democrat out of Washington. Okay, so that was her quote. Okay, well, guess what? He has the right to ban these people, and he's going to do it. He's doing it again. Because see, the last time I think that they stopped him in court and there were all these things. And I'm like, why are you fighting so hard for people to harm us? Again, I want to ask this representative. You're talking about it's not going to isolate us from the world stage. Okay, because China is not on that list. Let's just be clear. Canada's not on that list. Mexico's not on that list. Shall we continue? Ukraine's not on that list. South Africa's not on that list. Let's keep going. Russia's not on that list. So the whole bunch of places not on that list, ma'am. Okay? So we're not isolating ourselves off the world stage. Trust, we're not. What we are doing is we're protecting our borders. How about that? How about I get people on that page? We need to protect our own home and stop worrying about protecting everybody else's. Just saying. So this is how the media covered it. The Associated Press that's left bias highlighted how 9 of the restricted or banned nations are majority Black African countries and said that several of those included Sierra Leone, Togo, and Equatorial Guinea are not known for hosting armed groups that pose a major threat to the West. Just the News that leans right linked the White House's fact sheet released along with Wednesday's announcement. Most sources from the left and center didn't. Okay. The White House's fact sheet released. Okay. So just the News, they linked the fact sheet, but other sources didn't do that. Okay. But again, we don't have to let anybody in. We really don't. Like, we could ban everybody tomorrow and be like, look, shutting it down, shutting the borders down. We're not doing none of this. Y'all can't come visit. Don't come vacation here. We got things to do. We got to set up our house. We can shut this down. We don't have to. We are extending it graciously. And stop making it about race. This isn't about race. This is about sovereignty. Period. This is about our nation being sovereign. This is about people not taking advantage of our borders. And then once they get here, they take advantage of the laws, and then they take advantage of all the goodies that they get through these NGOs. Okay, let's be real clear on that. Because the American people are suffering, even though we paid our taxes, even though we've done what we're supposed to do. You allow other people in here to break the law. Just do whatever they want to do. And that's happened. We saw it. We all saw it. You can't take it back. We got the videos to prove it. I need the faux outrage to stop. To me, this is faux outrage. Stop. You stop that. I need you to care more about the country. Now, I saw this. I don't really want to read into it, but it's a King of the Hill actor, Jonathan Joss, shot. Husband claims homophobic motive. I'm not getting into that. I'm leaving that alone. I do watch King of the Hill. I do watch the reruns. I came along after Beavis and Butthead. It's funny. Okay. I don't want to know. So, but I do want to know about this. I want to know about, adding more money to the national debt. And we always do. But here's the thing. It gets to a certain point where we need to stop adding to the national debt, and we need to start putting things in place so that the debt can go down. And I know that was a lot of why the tariffs were put in place, so we could start recouping money. I know that we're spending money to make money, and what I mean by that is we're trying to bring more um, goods and services and trades back here to the United States to build up the United States so that we can be that economic superpower. So we're not spending so much money to have stuff brought in, but we're making things at home and buying things at home that we can ship out for other people to buy. It's kind of easy. We look at it like a store. That's kind of what we're doing. But we need to get this debt down. So the Congressional Budget Office estimates that President Trump's latest bill, often called the Big Beautiful Bill, would add 2.4 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. And it will. And nobody likes it, and everybody's upset about it. Just saying. I won't say everybody. I will say certain people are upset about it. So the CBO's estimate is slightly higher than an earlier version of the bill, projected at 2.3 trillion in new debt. The bill, if passed, is also estimated to increase the number of people without health insurance by 10.9 million by 2034 due to spending cuts and new eligibility rules under Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. So, despite these figures, Trump and the GOP leaders have insisted that the bill will not worsen the national debt, highlighting spending cuts and downplaying the tax cuts and extensions that would affect the long-term budget outlook. Okay, because see, a lot of these people that would be eligible for Medicaid, not Medicare. So there are those two different things. Medicare is for seniors. Medicaid is extended to people in certain states if they fall within a financial scale, right? And they can supplement it or they can get it because they don't make enough money, right? The eligibility rules that have changed are, number one, citizenship. If you are not a citizen, you're not going to be eligible. You're just going to be taken off the rolls. I'm okay with that. The other thing is you're going to have to, hold or carry a job to transition you off of Medicaid and off of dependency. With the Affordable Care Act, I think that might be something. I don't think it's going to be phased out, but again, the eligibility will be different, right? So it's not saying that things are going away. It's just the eligibility and who's going to be eligible for it. Yeah. And there may be 10.9 million people, but of those 10.9 million, who's here legally and who's here illegally? That's the question. That is the whole crux of the matter. Because if they're not here legally, then they need to go home to their own country and they shouldn't be getting government assistance. They shouldn't need to be here. We need to send those people home. So, for context, the bill is currently in the hands of the Senate, where top Republicans aim to make changes and pass a revised version by July 4th. The bill's proposed tax cuts and spending reductions have not been without criticism, with Elon Musk labeling the bill a disgusting abomination. Yeah, I understand it. But here's the deal. Calm down. This is politics. I need you to calm down, Elon. Like, bro, save your blood pressure. And I like to call it emotional um, currency. Don't spend it where it's not needed. Reserve it for when you need it. I'm just saying, don't waste it on politics because you'll be upset all the time. Just calm down. So this is how the media covered it. Newsweek, which is center bias, and NBC News, which leans left, reports primarily focused on the CBO's debt projection and the potential increase in uninsured Americans. Both outlets also highlighted criticism by Elon Musk and the contradiction between the CBO's finding and the Trump administration's assurances. On the other hand, the Washington Examiner, that leans right, focused on GOP figures defending the bill. The outlet suggested that the CBO score did not account for the possibility of the legislation boosting economic growth, which would create new revenues. This perspective aligns with the idea presented in a Daily Caller, right, article that the CBO often underestimates the positive effects of tax cuts. Yeah, so I know everybody comes with, I don't want to always say faux outrage, but some people get upset. I don't want to say they're getting upset for nothing, but it's like, is your outrage really, really true to scale? Is this really what we're talking about? So again, I'm glad they're kind of battling it out. And I want to see them continue to go back and forth in the House and Senate till they get it right, because they should. And if that means it goes past July, so be it. I would rather you take your time on this one than just try to rush stuff through and then be like, oops, we missed this. No, there's no oops. Let's do our jobs and do the right thing for the American people. And with that, we'll take a quick break and I'll see you guys on the other side. And we are back. Thank you again for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Time. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And hopefully, our guest will be joining us soon. I realized I didn't send him the link. Okay, it says, what time will the show begin? It's 7:21 Central Time. So right now, yes, right now. Sorry, y'all, on air. So yes. I should say, 8. Oops. I forgot he was in Chicago. So, of course, when you say, hey, I want you on at 8 o'clock, he's thinking 8 a.m. Central Time, not 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So I didn't point that out. I was like, I probably should have did that. So thank you guys again, like I said, for joining us, going through all of my bumps and bruises, as you know, because I am the host and the production staff and all of those good things. But we are going to start our Mighty Men Thursday segment. And thank you again for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And my name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and this is Mighty Men Thursday. And we have a very special guest, and his name is Mark Carter. I got a chance to talk to Mark. It's weird. It's like I've talked to him, and I've talked to him on X Spaces, and I've seen him on videos, but I've never like met him in person, like face to face, like shook his hand, give him a high five, nothing like that. So I'm very excited that he, graciously accepted my invitation to be on the show. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring him online with us. Hey, Mark.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. We can hear you fine. So, again, thank you so much for joining us here on Mighty Men Thursday. So, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell the people what you are working on in the community and where they can follow you, and then we'll get into a topic of your choice.
Okay, so good morning. As she stated, Mark Carter, Chicago activist. I would say for the last almost 30 years, been living on the front line of Black people's issues, whether it be around housing, education, um, jobs, contracts, police shootings. I mean, you name it. In the activist community, we like to say that we have many jobs. you know, so we fight all causes. I mean, when we get the phone calls, we show up. And they can reach me on Twitter, just simple Mark Carter on Twitter. So there you have it.
Okay. Yep. I have you at Chicago Going Red.
Oh, okay, okay. Yes, that is my Twitter handle.
Hmm.
Yeah, I often forget that.
It's okay because I know that you're about getting the work done.
Oh
You're not how should I say, you're not about vanity.
no, not at all. Not at
Not
all.
at all. Not at all. So yesterday I was I want to say it was either yesterday or the day before yesterday, we were talking about Larry Hoover. And
Mm-hmm.
you were just giving some background on, you know, your history with him. And I just wanted to know if you could share some of that with our audience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, it was the transitioning that was going on that was most important, and I'll start there. In the late '90s, when they were targeting him to take him into the federal system, it was just around the time when mass incarceration was in full swing. That they had basically decided that they would stop rehabilitating in the prison system and go further into mass incarcerating. The prisons were starting to expand. As you know, in those early 90s, say 92, 93, 94, Bill Clinton was in office, and he had decided that he was going to put 30, no, $40 billion, no, $30 billion, $30 billion into the omnibus crime bill to build more prisons. And so Larry Hoover was um, right in the midst of his campaign of switching Gangster Disciple over to growth and development. And
Mhm.
that ran counter to Bill Clinton's plan in the Democrat Party. Um, and so, like any other time politically, when you get in the way of politicians, they move on you. And that's exactly what they did to him. They moved on him because he was turning the lives of young people around in and out of prison. Um, they not only sent him to federal prison, but put him under the jail so that his message would not spread while they were making their money off the prison system.
Wow.
And after Larry Hoover left, uh, Illinois prisons went from maybe 11, 12 prisons up to 41 prisons. So, they were intentionally going after us as young people. And keep in mind that we are the children of those third grade test scores,
Hmm.
where they determined that by those third grade test scores that they were going to put us in prison versus rehabilitate us. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And one other thing I want people to know is that those prisons that were built, there's something out there called prison REITs. And it's a public-private partnership because, see, the prisoners are technically slaves, and it's free labor that you don't have to necessarily pay a high stipend to. They just have to give them some type of stipend. And so, they're given free labor to work in their companies or whatever their corporations are doing, but at the same time, those that are involved in these prison REITs are making tons of money because it's a government contract, right? But it can also be invested in by the public. So they're making
Yeah.
money on both sides, and REITs definitely pay out like 90% of their earnings, which keeps them in a low tax bracket. Because I actually used to work for a healthcare REIT. So it was more based on healthcare real estate, but it was the same concept. But I think the prison REITs are a little bit more nefarious because people don't realize that all of these prisons being built, that there's billions of dollars being made behind the scenes.
Yeah, because most people just they have this mindset of oppression and hate and they've been painted this picture um, that you know lock them up, throw away the key, and so they don't understand that the Correctional Corporation of America is one of the biggest criminal operations in the world, and
Right.
it's a money making criminal operation headed up by a bunch of investors who, like you say, make tons of money off the backs of uh, what's equivalent to the black codes
Yeah.
after slavery, um, where they target young people to incarcerate so that they can enslave. Because you do know under 13th Amendment that you can enslave people if they've been found guilty.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we had a question from one of our viewers from South. He wanted to ask you, Mark, how do you think Job Corps could be improved? We were talking
Well,
about Job
Job
Corps a
Corps.
little bit earlier. Go ahead.
It's funny. It's funny they mentioned Job Corps because as of this morning, a video that I was watching, they ended Job Corps, and I was just saying, I just text Miss Alice Johnson, the lady who's the pardon czar. I just text
Mhm.
her this morning and let her know that this will cause a rise in next offenders if we don't do something about this. And
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah, so I think Job Corps has since ended, and I think we all need to make some noise about this. Um,
Yeah.
Put it back on the table of the administration. Because I'm pretty sure that Trump wasn't made clear before they cut this money, the impact that it would have on
Yes.
children, mainly young people. So, and if he did know that the impact it would have, then we need to apply pressure to him to bring
Hmm.
this program back.
Yeah, I was actually covering it a little bit earlier today in my show. I spent almost about 45 minutes on it, close to an hour, but just going through, the budget and how much it was interesting. It's like Job Corps sent their budget to the Department of Labor and then turned around and said the Department of Labor was lying about the numbers. I'm like, these are the numbers you sent them. You spent this
Mm,
money, but again, they're spending it on, certain, I won't call them DEI programs, but they are DEI programs.
mm,
You're involving a community, the LGBTQ community, and even though some of them are complaining that, hey, we're not getting the resources, then why do you have a document talking about how you need to handle people that are transgender? What does that even have to do with Job Corps? Job Corps is about setting you up so you don't get in a whole bunch of debt in college, right? But you're set up with
okay.
a middle class education and job so that you
Mhm.
can have that middle class economy. I mean, they were letting people out and they were like, oh yeah, the average income that they were getting was like 16,000. I was like, nobody can live off of 16,000. That's below the poverty line. What are we doing?
Yes, way below the poverty line. I mean, median incomes are only what $24,000 a year, and
Right.
we know that people can't survive off that. So,
Exactly.
and we have to. I mean, but we have to demand that if you get rid of Job Corps, because
Mhm.
sometimes it may cost tons of money to fund those programs, then you have to replace them with something. I mean,
Yes.
but that's the easiest way to do it. just not going to work. I mean, to take Job Corps away, and it's dangerous. I mean, it would
Yeah.
cause violence to spike, and that's why I hit Miss Dallas Johnson up this morning. I called her,
Hmm.
well, I
Good.
texted her and let her know that we need to address it. This has got to be addressed.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. I
so you
actually.
saw the same thing I did. That
Yeah.
it was, they're cutting the program.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so I'm glad
Yep.
somebody else saw it.
Yeah, I encourage my
Mm-hmm.
listeners to call the press office for the Department of Labor and, just demand to keep Job Corps in place. Because, it's
Mm-hmm.
the adults that were over the budgets, you know what I'm saying, that have messed this up. It's not the kids, and the kids shouldn't suffer for the adults making bad
And it's
decisions.
always that way. It,
Yeah.
and it's always that way where you have these people uh, stealing from these programs, and then young people are impacted by adult decisions. And so
Yeah.
we definitely have to make some noise about this. I mean, we definitely have to make some noise about this.
Yep. Yep.
This should not
Absolutely.
be allowed to happen. You know, it definitely shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Okay. Okay. Now, was there any other topic that you'd like to get into?
Well, you know, with you speaking on the part about Larry Hoover, I want to just go back to that point because most of our people have been trained to see um, this thing from a different angle than really is than what it really is about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, as I stated previously, prior, that Larry Hoover was well on track to take young people in a different direction, and and because of that, he became public enemy number one. He was already in prison, and then he was already who he was, and so it was easy to turn people against him. But really, in actuality, it was the system that wanted to mass incarcerate, not just like the state of Illinois. We don't have private prisons here,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we do have a correctional industry program, which is equivalent to what you see and saw in that those correctional corporations of America, which are private prisons, and that is slavery. So a lot of your furniture, lines of furniture, and ethanol, for example. Have you ever heard
Mm-hmm.
of the ethanol
Yes.
alternative fuel? One of the biggest ethanol plants is in Vianna Correctional Center. So our
Wow.
people are in prison mass producing ethanol fuel. And so
Wow.
these things were not, they were never brought to the and explain to our people, that these things were happening. That slavery essentially was going on. And so for Larry Hoover to say that he's going to change the lives of young people, he got in the way of a lot of money. And so they decided that he had to be removed from um, the state prison system where he could be in contact with these young people turning their lives around. And the best way for them to do that was to put him underground.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't know, being in Colorado in ADX, you are literally underground. When they say put you under
Wow.
the jail, he was put under the jail because he was
Wow.
turning things around. He was going in the direction of turning things around. And I want that message to get out because most of us don't know. Uh, we think that these politicians are upstanding and righteous people, in which they're not. And some
Wow.
of the very people they target are being targeted because they decided to go on a righteous path. Now, keep in mind, Larry Hoover was part of helping them get the first black female elected senator, who's Karen Mosley Braun. Do you remember her?
Mm-mm. No, I don't.
So Karen Mosley Braun was the first black female senator, United States senator, right,
Wow.
to be elected. Larry Hoover was very instrumental, along with some of the other street leaders that were locked up at that time. Uh, they were organizing. I know you remember the 21st Century voter campaign, right?
Yeah.
When they talk about 21st century vote. Well,
Hmm.
just as they were using Larry Hoover, they were planning to take him out of the equation because he
Wow.
was turning things around and he was able to get hundreds of thousands of people to go vote, not just young people, not just formerly incarcerated or deemed as gang members. No, he had families and people get involved with politics, and so him along with some of the other guys and
Yeah, your audio is breaking up a little bit.
they gave him basis, and a lot of those stories are not told, and
Okay.
or a lot of people don't know what this was all about.
Yeah, there was another I don't want to call it an incident, but I guess he had people, I guess people on the outside listen to him, and there was an organized event where they protested shutting down medical facilities, I guess, in Chicago, but they also protested to have Planned Parenthood shut down, and that was very successful in Chicago. Was he kind of, I don't want to say responsible for that, but did he contribute to that? Does that make sense? I don't know if you remember that protest that was done. Oops. Are you still there, Mark? There you go. I see you moving, but I just don't hear you. He'll be back with us shortly, you guys. I know sometimes internet has a little bit of a delay. We'll say that. Can you hear us, Mark? Okay. He might not hear us. It might be frozen. Like I'm hoping that we'll see some phone movement. Let me see. Because we do have a question from somebody in our listening audience. So I was waiting for Mark to come back on so I could ask him that question. Mark, are you there? Oops, got dropped. Ooh, no, he's back. There he is. There we go. I can't hear you. Sorry. Give 1 second. I know it's got to sync. Still can't hear you. Yeah, he had to come out and come back in again. He'll be back. Oh, turn off his Bluetooth. Okay. One of our listeners, Mark, if you're listening, said to turn off your Bluetooth. So hopefully he'll be able to join us again. Like I said, we are live, and there are times when, like I said, we're going through our technical bumps and bruises. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us here on Mighty Men Thursday. And we have our special guest, Mark Carter. And you can definitely follow him at Chicago Going Red on X. That's at Chicago Going Red. And, he got to see some of the things firsthand that were going on with Larry Hoover. And I'm so grateful that he's able to share that with us. Can you hear us, Mark?
Yes, I can hear you. I can
Okay,
hear you.
good, good. Yes, we actually had
You
a
hear me?
question. Yes, I can hear you. We actually had a question from one of
Uh-huh.
the members of our audience for you. It says, what can we do to help formerly incarcerated
Okay.
people get jobs and welcome them back into our communities with support and humanity?
Well, one of the first things that needs to be done is that we must unify as a people and understand that whether you are formerly incarcerated or just an everyday working class person, that as a family, we shouldn't allow the system to attack our people. That's the first thing that we must understand and do, right? Mass incarceration was never about the crimes that were being committed. They could care less if we killed one another, sold drugs, as long as it was contained, they could care less. It was just a way for them. It was just a way for them, and and what it was about was money, right? It was a way for them to make money. It was a way for them to demonize a group of men mainly, and then they began to even target our women so that they could make money. Again, they never cared about crimes that were being committed because they were for 20 years. How do you investigate a crime for 20 years? No, you're not
Right.
investigating. You're allowing it to happen. You're allowing people's
Right.
lives to be destroyed. And then after you have socially engineered the people into savagery, you allow it to happen for 20 years. So by the time you come in like the savior, people's lives are destroyed. People are
Yeah.
dead.
Right.
People have lost their homes, moved out of town. And so the way to help is for us to unify and not allow us to be demonized by the demons. Because most of these politicians who control the resources, these programs who receive the billions of dollars, they are the demons. They are the real criminals. The people like you just spoke of, Job Corps, they are the real demons. They the thieves. They the crooks. But because they control media, they were able to take young black men and women and make us public enemy number one, especially in the 90s. So this is about us unifying. And then second, we must take full control of our communities. Full control of when we built 2,000 and 3,000 Tulsas. And that was before all these mass groups of immigrants came in and burned our towns down. They came here starving. And if you go back in the history of these Italians and Irish, they were committing those same types of crimes.
Right. Right.
They were brought into white, given.
You're breaking up a little bit. We didn't get your response. I heard about the Italians, and that was it. So you might have to start from there. Oops. Think we got disconnected again. Give us a moment, y'all. Because this is some good information. Definitely good information. And I know people are probably like, why is he out and mobile? Because he's getting it done. A lot of this doesn't get done just sitting at the house, sitting behind a keyboard. It gets done getting outside and getting in your car and going. And so wherever he's going, we're going, which is great. But it just shows you how hard he is working for the people. So, Mark, can you hear me? I might have to remove him and give him just a moment to gather himself, and then I'll bring him right back up on the stage. But a lot of what he is saying is true. We have to start investing in ourselves in the community. I know a lot of times we want people to fix things for us, but if we don't stand up and say, okay, this is what needs to be fixed, and I'm willing to volunteer to fix it, it's not going to happen. We have to be the champions of our own success, or we will sit back, and be the viewers of our own demise. That's just how it's going to go down. And so we have to decide who we want to be in this scenario. So let me add Mark back to the stage and see if he's connecting. Oh, it says audio only. Oh, okay. So I'm going to remove him again and just see, because it might be a connective issue. But we got a couple more questions for him. So I wanted to make sure I get him back here on stage and connected, because I definitely, I want to hear from him. I know he definitely has inspired a lot of young men on X. I know he's had a lot of battles on X. He's he's ruffled some feathers in as they call it, the Twitterverse or in the X verse, and that's okay because we're not going to agree on everything all the time, and I'm all right with that because you know what, I may not know what another community needs, and I would never put myself in the position to make suggestions for their community, right? I wouldn't do that. To me, that's rude. So let me see. Let me check with Mark if he's going to be able to join us again. And I'll ask if he can just join by audio. So let me wait to see if he can join us via audio. That's one of those things. I don't know. Like I said, this is live, y'all. This is live. This is all happening. So what I'm going to do, oh, there he is. Yay, popping in. I was going to take a quick break and come back. But maybe we will be able to get him to connect here. There we go. Got the wheels spinning, and it's spinning. Who was that? I think that was Chris Rock. And it's spinning, it's spinning. The connective. Okay. I hear stuff. I hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me, Mark? Not yet. Still connecting. Can you hear me, Mark? Not yet. Can't hear me yet, y'all. Waiting for a response. Nope. Just waiting. But he's connected. So that's a good thing. That I'm happy with. I'm happy that we're connected. So now I gotta see. Because I hear birds in the background, so I know that's not me. That's him. Definitely. Let me remove him from the stage, and then I'm going to add him back. Hopefully that'll connect. Mark, can you hear me? Hello, hello. Tap, tap. Is this thing on? Hopefully we'll get a connection from him soon. Oops. Okay, so let's remove that one. Had him in multiple windows. Oh, there he is. Yay. Can you hear me? I see him smiling, so I think he can hear me. I can't hear you yet. Okay, go ahead and say something. Okay, Mark, can you hear me? Because we can see you, but we can't hear you. Okay, go ahead and say something. Because like I said, we can see you. We can totally see you fine, but we can't hear you. So I don't know if you're on Bluetooth or if you're just talking through your speakerphone, if that makes sense. Yeah, because like I said, we can see you moving, but I can't hear you at all. So he's going to try to come back out and come back in again. We would try this again. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me. Let's see. Okay, I can hear you a little bit. Okay, keep talking. Keep talking because I can't hear you. Yep, I can hear you. There we go. I can hear stuff moving around in the background, and I can hear your voice for a brief second. So keep talking. Yeah, your voice keeps slipping out.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it sounds a little robotic, almost like you're in the Matrix. Okay, keep talking.
Can you hear me?
Yes. That was a little bit better. It's like when you say, "Can you hear me?" I'll get your voice, but then it'll just if you keep talking, it drops out.
Yes.
It kind of choppy. Keep talking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear that part. Can you hear me? And then it's like you sound like
Now?
a robot. Yeah, it's probably South is saying it's probably the Bluetooth again. Are you on Bluetooth or just you on the phone? It might be Bluetooth.
Uh,
No Bluetooth? Yep, keep talking.
it's breaking up. I'm holding the phone up to so I guess that's why you see the ceiling.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just going in and out a little bit. I don't know if it's trying to get on another Wi-Fi.
And you going in and out as well.
Oh, okay. Let me remove you from the stage and then I'll bring you right back. Let's see, do that. Okay, hopefully maybe that refreshes it. Maybe it won't. We'll see. Thank you guys again for hanging out with us here. We've been kind of going through the bumps and bruises of the technology. Yeah, now you're just not there. I mean, I can see the inside of your car, but the audience cannot see it. It's just a blank screen. Are you there, Mark? Because, like I said, you probably can hear me, and I'm probably going in and out, and I probably sound like a robot to you. Same here. Oh, man. I was really waiting for this one because I wanted you to tell us more about, Larry Hoover and everything that was going on. Because Mark had actually shared with us that um, during his short time of incarceration, that he got to experience that time where Larry Hoover had really made that change of looking at the development of our community and how we needed to be more self-sustaining and really looking at that type of development. And that was right around the time that they sent him to federal prison. I mean, you know, like I said in another show that I did yesterday, would let the truth be told, they normally do not lock up ineffective individuals. They lock people up that are making an impact. And I don't think they could have afforded to take his life, right? The way Malcolm's and Martin Luther King's lives were taken. So, in my opinion, they put him in the hole and they didn't think he was going to survive it. But he has. And with President Trump commuting his sentence and really giving him a second chance to be with his family is, it's a blessing, and this is why he made Alice Johnson the pardon czar, because when she was incarcerated, she saw that there were so many people like her that needed to be released and getting that second chance in life. And she just recently celebrated her 70th birthday this week. I've seen some pictures and some videos. I'm so happy for her. Happy birthday, Alice. And thank you so much for bringing this to the president's desk and for President Trump reacting so fast. It didn't take him any time to get this done. And now the battle begins at the state level with Governor Pritzker, right? To see, okay, what are going to be the next steps. So, I mean, unfortunately, guys, we're having some technical issues, but you know what? Maybe I can have Mark back on again. I know that there was a question that South had for Mark, and he was asking him, what are some things you want to see happen for Black Americans in the next 5 years? So that is definitely a question for Mark. Oh, I see Mark is trying to join again. So let's see. Hey, Mark, can you hear us? Okay, let me see. Let me keep him backstage to see if he joins. But that is a question, right? Let's see what, things we can see happen for Black Americans in the next 5 years. I mean, what I would love to see is definitely our independence and growth and development. And what I mean by that is really looking at some of these areas that are downtrodden and build them up, right? Put in the lunch programs that need to be there, put in the educational programs that need to be there, because right now we have seen that the educational system has failed, our people especially, right? Because we had the money for the resources and they came in and took the resources, but there was no education behind it. And so those are some of the things that I see needs change. Let me try and bring Mark back up. Mark, can you hear us? Can you hear us? It just has audio only. So I think he's probably trying to get in the position to connect. And I know sometimes that happens. It's like I'm hearing great things about the Redemption Party. Oh, thank you so much, South. I'm glad. I'm glad. We are trying the best we can. But South made a great suggestion. Maybe we can do a part 2 to this. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream because we are at our 2-hour mark. But what I can do is I can reach out to Mark and see if he can, maybe join us again next Thursday, or if he and I can just do a sit down interview and then I can bring that to you guys just via video. I know we'll be a little bit offline, but I can bring some of these questions to him that he can definitely respond to. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great one.